Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Sick Podcast, Recruits Draftcast. We have some hockey to talk about. About time. We love summer, but you know what? It was dragging on a bit too much. Last week, we had the summer showcase that was happening in Michigan. And right now, this week, is the start of the Hlinka Gretzky in Edmonton. We had the first few games yesterday, more games today. This is a very short, condensed tournament, which means it's also a lot of fun. Some great hockey being played by the future of the NHL. You can learn about these 2025 draft eligible picks in this tournament. That's how you can meet them. So Grant and I are going to talk about that today and a whole lot more. So let's get to it.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Recruits Draftcast.
With our first pick in the 2022 NHL Draft, les Canadiens de Montréal sont fiers de repêcher from the Slovakian national team and TPS Turku, Juraj Slafkovsky.
The sickest NHL draft and scouting podcast. It's gonna be sick.
Producer Shane here, joined as always by the magnificent Grant McCagg. Grant, how you doing today? Yeah, Grant's looking great. And if you're wondering what he has on his face, we are very excited to talk to you about our newest partner, Manta Sleeping Masks, the only mask designed and optimized for deepest possible sleep in any environment, even when you're filming a podcast. 100% blackout for deeper sleep. Infinitely adjustable for personalized fit, absolute comfort. Visit mantasleep.com and use code SICKDRAFT for 10% off. I got one of those masks coming in the mail soon, but Grant loves his. Obviously, he's rocking it today on the show. Wakey. Yeah, good morning, Grant. Good morning.
Oh, hey, how's it going?
It's going great. You're getting your beauty sleep, clearly.
And I'm ready. I'm refreshed, ready to go.
Fantastic. Yeah, big shout out to Manta Sleep. We sure love them. I know Grant loves them big time.
Yeah.
While we're at it, we'll tell you about our other partners, Insta Customs. Insta Customs are proud supporters of Recruits and the Sick Podcast, Recruits Draftcast. The highest rated apparel print shop in Canada at 4.9 Google stars, specializing in direct-to-garment printing and embroidery. They're located just minutes away from the Bell Center on Rue Stanley in Montreal. Please visit their website at instacustoms.com. And also from our good friend Nick, cheapest t-shirts, cheapest rock-bottom apparel, wholesale prices in all of Canada. T-shirts at $247, hoodies at $13.95, crew necks at $7.83, and much more. 36 different clothing brands and over 600 different products. No minimum order required to get the cheapest prices. Order today, ship today, get it tomorrow. Why are you paying more for nothing? Head on over to cheapesttshirts.ca. All right. You all refreshed from your nap?
Yeah. Just in time, right?
It's great stuff. This even comes with a case. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah. And when I get tired of listening to you, earplugs.
Those come in handy.
Gives you, yeah. No, it's absolutely fabulous there. You especially in the summertime, the sun's up at 5:30, 6 o'clock, and you're not quite ready to get up, and you're just total blackness, and it works great. Like Tony said the other night on his podcast, a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Lucky Tina hasn't stole mine from me, unlike Tony's better half. But they're I couldn't recommend them more. I'm glad that they sent me one, and I've been using it. So
Manta Sleep, they're the best. All right. Grant, we had some hockey to watch this week and this coming week as well. The summer showcase, well, I mean, we didn't really get to watch it because they made it impossible to watch, but we heard about it. You know, we heard what happened. We saw the scores. Yeah. Again, this is not exactly a tournament per se. There's not a prize at the end. It's a showcase, right? This is really for the teams going into the World Juniors in this winter to start making out which players could be a part of that squad. So that's really right. the main purpose of the showcase. But it's still hockey, right? We're kind of deprived in the summer, and they deprive us some more. Neither of us were really able to watch any of the games, which is quite unfortunate.
Oh no, I ended up getting the package. You had to subscribe.
You had to pay for a package, like
yeah, I did. I talked to the boys and said, "Can this be written off as a business expense?" And they said, "Yeah, I guess so." So I paid the piper for a month's coverage of USA Hockey. I won't be renewing it, but I mean, the games weren't even on Instat after, so none of the shifts or anything. So I had no choice if I wanted to see some of it. And I almost, buyer's remorse right after, because it was not a very, because they don't even have like a first play, like the top two teams play, it's just, let's play a few games. Nobody wins, nobody loses. Mm-hmm. All the showcase, but with no friggin' coverage, and you having to pay, $20-$30 US for a month's. It's restrict case is what they should call it. There's no showcase about it. No. Why do you showcase if you restrict it to that you have to pay through the nose just to watch it? I don't know. I know before, when Canada was in it, and then before all of this court case crap and them not sending a team for 2 years and that it not being on TV, I thought maybe that TSN or Sportsnet would cover it this year again with Canada back in, but I get it with the Olympics that they made a smart choice not preempting Olympic coverage to have this, because 7-5, 8-6, it was like all-star. It was almost like watching an all-star game where it wasn't real competitive hockey. It was pond hockey, really. So you didn't glean a lot from it other than guys like Higgins is a great prospect. The other disappointing thing is too, like even the final game, Canada-US, they didn't put together their two best squads. They still had guys like Perreault didn't play, Leonard didn't play. Like it just, I don't know. Yeah. I thought they'd at least do that. Put the two best lineups from the two teams face to face and make it appear like they were trying to have a game where it was important. But and of course it came down to a shootout, and who freaking cares who wins a no-nothing game and with a shootout, right? Mm-hmm. So, maybe it was a fitting way to end it with a shootout.
Yeah, that's it. Encapsulates it. Yeah.
How unimportant it was, really, But at least for the Canadian squad and such, they, especially with them not being there the last 2 years before that, you get a bunch of them together and you get an early look at what might be the majority, at least, of the players that will be on the team in the wintertime. Mm-hmm. We get a little better idea of what to expect as far as who will be on the team and stuff. But it wasn't overly notable. I don't know how much I'm going to go back and look at the games again, to be honest with you. I saw a handful of them and highlights of the first games, and I don't know that I'm going to go back and watch them. There was only one Habs prospect there too, which was kind of disappointing. Yeah. But again, it gives you an idea of just how, after a run of a few years where there was a lot of Habs prospects at the World Juniors, there aren't going to be too many this year. Obviously, Demidov would be there if he was eligible, but there's a bunch of guys that late birthdays and such. Eriksson would play if he wasn't a late birthday. Fowler would play if he wasn't a late birthday, but they're too old. So it's one of those years where we're not going to see a lot of Canadians prospects in the World Junior Tournament, but that doesn't necessarily mean a whole heck of a lot. There's various reasons for why they won't be including their top pick being Russian, and there'll be no Russia at the World Juniors again this year.
Whatever. Yeah, we've discussed our stance about that before. If you want to go back and watch that, but we're not great fans of the omission of a good hockey nation, right? Politics aside, it's unfortunate. We want to see the best hockey players play, and we're not. We'll leave it at that. Anyways, the summer showcase was a bit of a disappointment, a letdown. The fact that, it was just so hard to watch. I mean, I was following through people on Twitter that were there. Chris Peters is a friend of the Sick podcast. I was watching, his tweets and following along. But I mean, really, it's sort of meaningless, like you said. For Canada, the top point getters were Andrew Crystal with 10 points. And both Riley Height and Beckett Seneca finished with 8. So whatever you want to make out of that, that's the information.
I don't know if Seneca got hurt in the last game, but I didn't see a heck of a lot of them. After the game before, I thought he was the best player on the ice.
Yeah. And
then in the game against he was listed on the fourth line and then didn't play on the power play, and I hardly saw him in the second half of the game. I don't know if he was nursing an injury or he got injured and didn't play, or what the story was there. But third overall pick, not playing, it seemed odd, and I didn't get to the bottom of that because I honestly didn't. It was disappointing, put it that way. And the real hockey started yesterday, and we should get on to that.
Bingo. We transfer over to the Hlinka Gretzky, which is an actual tournament with actual stakes. Canada tries to defend their title. Last year's team was electric, and this year's team is looking pretty good again. Yesterday, they defeated Switzerland 10-0.
Yeah.
Every other game was a 1-goal differential. This game was a 10-goal differential. So anyways, listen, no disrespect to Switzerland. They're a great nation, good team, but pretty big discrepancy there. Yeah.
Craig Button made a prediction in the first period that there wouldn't be a shootout in that game, and he was prescient with that. He was
I hope
good prediction there.
That. Yep. The return is probably a few cents, but hey, a win's a win. So Canada started off the tournament strong. The other teams yesterday, we'll go through the games real quick. So Sweden beat Slovakia 4-3 in overtime. Germany actually beat Finland 2-1 in overtime, and Czechia beat the USA 2-1. And obviously Canada beat Switzerland 10-0. Where do you want to start with this, Grant? Because there's a lot to dissect. This has been a lot of fun. Every year I love watching this tournament, and this year's started off strong.
Yeah. I didn't get to see the Germany-Finland game as of yet, so I can't really comment too much on that. I asked the scout if there were any Germans, and I guess I got a response here. No Germans. So I won't scout those guys too heavily. I mean, I'll look at them, but I'm not gonna when they're playing game, I'm not gonna focus on Germany. Put it that way. I like the Slovak. Those pesky Slovaks, they just they hang around. I mean, the first half, Sweden could have been up about 4 or 5-0, but they held in there and then scored 2 goals in like a minute span or 2 minutes and tied it up, and it went to overtime. And they don't have a lot of guys that are going to get picked, I don't think, this year very high in the draft. I mean, for me, Tobias Tomic and Adam Nemec up front were, they were the guys that were most impressive, but they're not eligible till 2026. So, which is too bad. But maybe Andreas Straka, as far as draft eligible guys. Didn't mind him. I almost had him my top 20 list going into the year. He was a consideration, but he looks like might be a second round guy, potentially second, third round potential there. But Sweden, decent. They've got a decent crop this year. I think they might end up having several guys in the top 50, as it turns out. Wozniak was kind of the name going in that was the most highly touted, and I didn't think he didn't really stand out yesterday. But they had some other guys that, and for me, I mean, Ekberg was regarded. I had him on my list going in as well, and he had a good game. Obviously, produced. He's not the biggest kid. I don't know if he'll be a first round guy or not, but he'll be in the mix. But I liked 18 and 22. I thought they both, and there were guys that I didn't really know going in. Arvid Drott and Milton Gastreen. Like both their games, and I think that they're half decent prospects. Eric Nielsen, son of an NHLer, former NHLer, another kid that looked decent. I thought Victor Klingzel, very smart, was producing chances all game long. He looks like a decent, again, undersized, which might keep him out of first round consideration, but certainly top 50 skill there and smarts. Gustav Hillstrom, 6'2" center, looks like a two-way guy, more of a defensive center, but there's some things to like there, and a couple defensemen. Sasha Boumedienne, who, going in, we had when I did my first top 25 list, he was on there, and Malta Vass, 5 and 6. They were probably the two defensemen that caught my eye on Sweden. So there's 8 guys that I think are all in the mix for top 90 spots at this point. And things always change, but that's a decent group. Sweden's always got a decent draft crop. So they'll be, other than Canada, I think Sweden will be the team that gets the most eyeballs on them from the scouts. We saw lots of scouts there yesterday. They had, I think, 3 games that they could all at the same arena, so they got to see most of the top guys. But did you get to see any of the games yesterday?
I've only watched the first 2 periods of Canada Switzerland.
Okay,
that game was pretty late for Eastern time zone, so I was kind of
nodding off.
I didn't need the Manta sleep mask. Let's just say that. It wasn't a very tight game, so I wasn't on the edge of my seat. Right? I went to bed.
I closed my eyes a bit the last 5 minutes or so. Was kind of nodding off myself, but I did manage to hang in there till the end.
Trooper.
Yeah, those are tough to. It wasn't a barn burner by any means, but were there who stood out for you in what you saw
for Canada?
Well, for Switzerland, that's
the coach. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, the big names coming in, right? They were noticeable. Gavin McKenna. I mean, what he was doing out there. I thought the beginning he looked maybe a bit nervous, maybe doing a bit too much, but he got in his groove. He finished with 4 points at the end of the day. Caleb Desnoyers, we're going to talk about him later, right? I think you tweeted it best. He looked like a man amongst boys, right? He kind of did whatever he wanted. Emile Guité, right? highly talented player. Showcased that yesterday. I might butcher that, but Reshny. Yeah, I think it's
4 or 5 points, not bad. +6.
So I don't know that anybody looked bad, right? Schaefer, right? Captain Canada, right? He looked nice.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could go down the list. Really, there's nobody I think stood out as being like a weak link. But again, first game of the tournament, small sample size against, to be nice, Switzerland. When we move forward in the tournament, get closer to the medal games, we'll see, who's really the anchors of this team.
Yeah. No, I agree with all those guys. Didn't get to see the whole US game, but it's too bad that they don't send their best in the summer, because this is really the only U18 tournament where you could have best on best. Canada's won 24 gold medals at the Hlinka, and the next team is Russia with 4.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous. But if the US sent their best team to this tournament, you would have the only really true U18 tournament where it was best on best. Canada might be, and US might be missing the real top dog that only plays in the U20s summer showcase or whatever. But typically it would be best on best, because Canada in the spring always has guys playing in the CHL playoffs that can't play, so they don't have their best in the spring. And in the summer, US could have their best, but they don't, for whatever reasons. They don't send their U18 development team, any of them, to it. They did not look very good. I know the one kid that I'd featured before, he wasn't Bevan or whatever. Is it Bevan? He wasn't very good. Don't know about his skating. It didn't stand out at this level. I think their captain Fiddler on defense, he's a legitimate prospect. A couple of guys will probably step up as the tournament goes along, but they have a disappointing group again this year. Just like last year, they didn't have a lot of, besides Connolly, I think it was pretty bereft of high end prospects. Now the Czechs, I guess it's 3 straight years they've beat them in the preliminary round if they had their best team, that wouldn't be happening every summer, but they don't. And the Czechs stepped up again. They had I'm watching these guys, and you don't know who the captain and assistant captain are if you hadn't really studied it. And as it turned out, Thomas Poletin and Dominic Pavlik were 2 kids that I was impressed by the most as far as draft eligible guys go, along with Ben Eck, of course. He's 5'7". It'll be interesting to see. He's a special talent, though, and he's so smart. He'll be one of those 5'7" guys that the scouts kind of, make an exception for, I think, because he's always produced, always against older competition. And now here he is with his peer group, and he stood out. He stood out again. He's decent defensively. He works hard. He's not afraid of bigger guys. Extremely skilled and smart. So he's probably one of those, much like Caulfield, just one of those 5'7" guys that, rare exception that the scouts say, okay, we gotta, we can't pass on him past, I don't know, pick 25 or something like that. We'll see how the year goes, but he's certainly their best player. But other than him, I like this Poletin, and I'm not, apologies for how I'm pronouncing that. It's Poletin. Poltin, you could say, but it's probably Poletin. Poletin and Pavlik. Good size, hardworking, look like they have some skill. One's wearing the A, one's wearing the C, which I discovered halfway through the game. And thinking, okay, that makes sense. So they're good character guys too, obviously. And then Roosevelt's the other kid. He had a goal, showed his skill, a little undersized, but he'll be a draft. We'll see if he's a top 90 guy. But those are the four up front with the Czechs that are going to keep a close eye on this year.
Yeah.
Mrtka on defense is a big kid. That's, he caught my eye last year. He's always played against better competition, so we'll be keeping an eye on him too. I think his skating's he's a little slow. A couple times going back for pucks there, it was like, I wish he had a little more. But he's a big kid, good defensively, handles the puck well, got some jams. So there's some things to like about him. He'll be a pick. It's just, it'll depend on how much his skating affects where he's drafted. But those are the five that stood out for me up front, five skaters that stood out for me for the Czechs. I haven't really paid attention to the goalies yet. I will as the tournament goes on, but the Czech goalie played well. The Slovakian goalie played very well. Those two look like decent prospects. The Swedish goalie is highly touted, but they were outshot by about 15, 20 shots. The Slovaks, and they got 3 past the Swedish guys. So he certainly didn't outplay the Slovak goalie the first night, but it's not always about performance, especially with goalies. The other kid on Slovakia, I guess, is Zubek, defenseman. He's much like Mrtka, not sure about his skating yet. And at this level, that will stand out. If you aren't the best skater, you can be exposed a bit. I had a look at his stats. He played Slovakia junior last year. He's born in Poland, played Polish junior hockey, minor hockey up until he was 15, moved to Slovakia. I mean, he's got a Slovakian name, so they're neighbors, right? So I guess whether the family moved back or he just went to play in better hockey, came to Slovakia and played junior last year. As a 16-year-old defenseman, he was 5th in scoring in Slovakia junior, 51 points in 45 games. 13 more points than the next highest scoring defenseman in the league as a 16-year-old. So there's some offense there. And I did notice him yesterday. He's 6'3" kid. He's got some puck skills and good shot and stuff like that. So if his skating can come along this year, he's another kid that my initial preliminary look at these guys, that's a guy that I'm going to keep an eye on this year as well. So that's, a quick preliminary recap of the guys that caught my eye on the first day.
Yeah. And, as we're recording this, there's a game being played between Czechia and Germany. It's in the third period right now. Czechia is leading 6-2. So that one's not as close as yesterday's game, but more games to come today. You got the USA against Finland, Sweden, Switzerland, and Canada, Slovakia again tonight, pretty late. I'll try to watch the start of it and hopefully all of it, but
I'll send you my Manta thing and get a cat nap in before so you can watch the whole thing. But
it's a busy day. It's a busy day today for the Sick Network, so I'm not sure I will be able to get a nap in, but
okay,
I'll tough it out. I'll tough it out. You know what? If it's a good tight game, I'll tough it out. And yesterday, the first period was a lot of fun, right? Getting to know these players. This is our real big introduction to this 2025 draft class. You hear some of these names beforehand, right? Desnoyers was the first overall pick in the queue. Gavin McKenna, we've been talking about him for a while. He's 2026. You also have, some of the big players that aren't there. Porter Martone, Roger McQueen, right? Michael Misa. So they're missing a bit of guys. Malcolm Spence, the overtime hero last year. I remember that goal. That was something special. So the team is not exactly complete, but there's still a good bunch of high end players, on Canada's team that, I really want to keep an eye on. And the other teams as well, they're not as loaded, but they have some guys that, we'll hear their name called in June 2025. So this is a fun tournament, right? These guys are young. They're also, they want to prove themselves, right? It's their first chance of showing scouts and teams who they are, and keep them on their list for the rest of the season. So I'm excited for the rest of this tournament. I mean, we're going to come back, you and I, next week once the tournament is over, because this is a short tournament, right? It's very condensed. So by this time next week, we'll know who has won the gold medal. We'll talk all about that. But yeah, I mean, not a ton right now, not a ton going on, right? Unfortunately, the summer showcase was a bit of a disappointment. Can't really talk much about it. And Hlinka Gretzky just started. So if there's anything else you want to touch on, Grant, before we get to your draft guide, the prospect guide, I'll let you get it off your chest.
Well, I guess we've got the Desnoyers clip, right?
We could show some highlights. So like I said yesterday, you tweeted, if you're not following Grant on Twitter, by the way, what are you doing? Go look up Grant McCagg on Twitter, follow him for some great content. But you tweeted that Caleb Desnoyers did look like a man amongst boys, and I concur. He really did, and you pulled up some compilation of his plays from yesterday's game. So we can watch that, and you can comment over it if you'd like.
Okay, good.
There you go.
Well, I mean, he set the tone right away, I thought, in this game. He came out and was physical. Like he was the most physical player in this game by far, I thought. You saw the whole package from the opening faceoff. It just size, power, speed, smarts, competitiveness, grit, anticipation, heart. Like he thoroughly impressed me right from the first shift right to the end. And for me, both him and Schaefer at this point look like strong candidates for the top 10. Schaefer maybe for the top 3. He might be the best defenseman in this draft class. He kind of blew me away, really.
Yeah, he was great.
But so did Desnoyers. Look at the, I mean, he was just dominant right
Always
from the
active.
opening faceoff. And I love his speed. He's got great wheels, really smart and competitive. But he, that first period from him especially was one of the most impressive all-around 20 minutes of hockey I've seen from a forward prospect in recent memory at the Hlinka. He just that one there dinged off the post. Like that was a great shot.
Sneaky.
Now he played more on the penalty kill than any other Canadian forward. And it was a big reason why the Swiss were held off the score sheet. Now, he only had 1 assist in the game, but that game wasn't a perfect example of how you can't judge a prospect's performance by his point totals.
Exactly.
He only had the 1 assist, but which means he was only in on 10% of Canada's goals officially, but he was on the ice for 6 or 7 of them. And was a big part of every one of those 6 of those goals. Like 5 of them came. Yeah, the back checking. I love guys that hustle on the back check, and he did it all game. Like he's two-way, just all around great prospect. But 5 of their goals came as a direct result of him winning offensive zone faceoffs. He won every offensive zone faceoff but 1. In this game, and then went to the net, caused havoc, or got the puck along the wall, made the right play on every opportunity. Did you notice that?
Yep,
He
you almost tried it.
Michigan. But again, like even on that one, he made the play.
Yep.
He doesn't get a point because he passed it to this guy. He passed it over, and then it was tipped. So third assist, right? But again, it was him. It was his. I keep showing the face-off wins that end up being goals, like or great opportunities. He just won face-off after face-off. He won 18 of his 21 draws.
My goodness,
which is 86%, which is crazy. You know, when he played less than 18 minutes and he won 18 draws. When you average more than one face-off win per minute of play, I mean, I don't know. You could search stats for a year and not find, there aren't many guys that ever do that. That's just a stat that you rarely see. And look at him drive the net there, right? And he took the hit. And what I like too is when he drove here, like he didn't get driven away from the goalie. He went right into the goalie. He's strong. He's listed at 179 pounds or 178, but he plays like he's 210.
Yeah.
Like he's just like pound for pound, he's got to be like strong as an ox. Just really impresses me. His how strong he is.
Absolutely.
Now, the first thing that came to mind from this game for me was playoff performer.
Yeah,
like that's the exact type of game you want to see from a center in an important playoff game, especially at the NHL level. Like coaches are going to love him. You can put him out in any situation. He was Canada's first line center, but he was their best defensive center.
Mm-hmm.
He was their most physical forward. Best defensive forward, best face-off man, and the tone setter. I mean, what more do you want? He had he blocked 4 shots. He was +5, 18 to 21 on the face-offs. So yes, he only had 1 assist in the game, but that, like I say, did not
reflect.
It did not reflect in any regard. Thanks, by the way. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
It did not reflect in any way, shape, or form just how good he was. I thought he was the best. I thought he was the best forward on the Canadian team. Now, we got to see him in the U18s a few months back, and he was solid, despite facing opponents who were a year older than him. Against his peers in game 1 of the Hlinka here, just complete dominance. Mm-hmm. There's his point. There was his point, but
again, he made that play, right? Like
he did.
It's not just a pass that bumped off his shin pad. He worked hard for all of that point, but he could have had 3 or 4 more.
Yeah. Every one of these plays is either smart or good. Physically dominant, like along the wall. He at this level, at least, he's just he's great. And it, like as you were talking there, you saw the hustle that he had on the back check on that play. I love his hustle too. Like it's just everything all around. Like I bet you he love to see him in the Q playoffs this year because I'm sure he's going to be a force. And next year, especially when he's a year older, wow! Like I say, like he just I thought he was the dominant two-way player by far in the first day of action, and completely impressed. I think now we can't get overly excited about one game versus a weaker opponent, but from a scouting perspective, he checked off all the boxes and looked like a top 10 prospect for me for the draft. Like if the Canadians end up picking in the top 10 again, and it's hard to say, but even if they don't, whatever, all I know is that he would be a perfect fit for the Canadians. I'm not sure where he'll end up in the draft. I'm not sure where the Canadians will be drafting, but as far as a perfect, them needing one more one more piece to that, to the young puzzle up front.
Yeah.
Checks, would love to see them get a local kid, a Quebecois kid. He checks that box off. He's got the size, got the grit, two-way, like I envision, like, I think he's top six. He's got top six all day upside, but imagine if you had a third line of him, Beck, and Kapanen someday. Like, I just,
Yeah. One guy gets thrown out of the face-off circle. The other guy goes in and wins it anyways,
Well, just all three of them, just consummate third line centers on championship team type guys. Imagine if they were all together on your third line, and there's a possibility that that's what they end up playing on with the Canadians if they were, because there's just
absolutely,
there's so much talent now potentially in the top six, but no, he's got second line, center upside all day. Love the kid. I think that for now, I'm penciling them in the top 10. Obviously, things change as the year goes along and guys come along and this and that, but I see certainly a kid that could be a top 10 pick, and there haven't been many from the Quebec League.
No, that's it.
In the last decade, and it's nice to see. And Guite looked good too.
Wow.
They've got a nice crop this year coming out of the queue, and being that I'm right on the border and get to see games in Gatineau quite often, I'll be going over to Gatineau a lot more this year to see a bunch of these kids. It's exciting.
Absolutely. And one thing we didn't even mention, he's wearing an A, right? So he's got that leadership quality to him on top of all of that. So
you can see the character in just how he plays. That that he's a leader on and off the ice. You can tell.
It's exciting. It's very exciting, and I think we're all looking forward to seeing him and the rest of Team Canada the rest of the tournament here. Grant, before we head out, we have to bring up this picture here of your prospect ranking guide on recruits.ca. Now, you went on Tony's show and you talked about Tony hyped it up and rightfully so, but if we can
appreciated that.
The picture, there it is. So you go on recruits.ca and you see this Habs prospect guide. You click on it, you click on that picture in order to access it. And how many? It's 42 prospects that you've ranked for the Habs, correct?
Yeah, ranked and profiled. I've got the top 30. I did a little extra on. I did pro projections on them. I did grades on their like skating, character, shot, all the top categories that you usually grade guys on. Pro projection, profile, and 3 or more videos that I put together on every one of the top 30 prospects. So, ton of hours of work I put into it, but it's a little something as a going away present, I'm calling it, for my loyal subscribers over the past 7 years that got me to this point, along the road. And I really appreciate all of the support that I've got over the years. And this was just a thank you to all of my subscribers. But I'm hoping that, a few people that aren't subscribers maybe pick it up as well. It's, at $9.99 Canadian, which is about $7 American. And I don't think you'll get a more comprehensive look at Montreal's bustling prospect crop.
That's it. I mean, if you're a Habs fan and you're excited about the future, which should be every Habs fan, this is the place to be. You should go check out recruits.ca. The last guide posted on recruits.ca. It's coming to an end. Wearing the recruits hat in memoriam. I don't know we're there yet, but it's a closing chapter. But Grant, you've got some exciting stuff cooking. We can't get into the details yet, but I know what it is, and it's going to be great. You want to keep an eye on that. We're going to make an announcement once it's all ready to go, but bigger and better things for Grant. You don't want to miss it. All right. I think we covered most of it. Anything else?
No, that's good. I'm good. See you later, buddy.
Back on the Manta Sleep. That's awesome. Well, that's it for us today. We want to thank our partners, Cheapest T-shirts, Insta Customs, and of course, Manta Sleep on Grant's face there, looking great. Listen, we're providing you with prospect content all year round, and you don't want to miss our next show because we're going to go through the entire Hlinka Gretzky tournament. It'll be done by then, so that should come out next week. We apologize for the break last week, but again, there's nothing going on, right? We were hoping we'd have some action with the prospect showcase, but really there wasn't. So that's it for us this week. For producer Jimmy in the studio, he's Grant McCagg. I'm producer Shane. This has been another edition of the Recruits Draftcast. Until next time, take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, Recruits Draftcast on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.